I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings,
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
Like, I had blinders on, man. Like, I remember Serge Nubret. Oh, he was a hero of mine too. So Serge Nubret brought me over. You know, the guy is, again, a real gentleman, man. Everything was
class act.
I mean, he put me in the best hotels. So he says, I have my driver, and so, you know, he's going to drive around. If you want to go to the Eiffel Tower, all this, I'm like, Eiffel Tower? I don't need to see the Eiffel Tower. I mean, John, I like totally missed everything.
Oh,
yeah.
If I could turn the clock back, people said, well, what would you do different? The only thing I would do different is I would have relaxed a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you only get with age, you know, you start to realize if I worry about it, doesn't make it happen any better, you know?
Yeah.
And so I remember, and I got in the car, it's all right, and he drove me, he goes, there's, you know, Notre Dame, and I says, great, okay, I gotta get back to the gym, you know? And I remember I was in Germany, and it was early in the morning, they opened the gym for me, and I was doing front squats, and, you know, the guys were just looking at me like, this guy's crazy. And I remember when I was leaving, it was a photographer guy that had come, and he says, Jeff King, you're the perfect bodybuilder. You know, like, I just wanted, you know, I wanted to do my stuff, and it was a job for me. You know? It was a job, and it was, I enjoyed it. Trust me, I had a very good time. I met a lot of incredibly awesome people, and I did have fun when I went to Australia. I was with a guy who was in the universe, Ken Ware. He lived in Mackay. And I went all over Australia. It was awesome. But I went and hung out with him for a week, and I had a good time.
You relaxed.
I relaxed. We went to this island. It's called, I think it's called Brampton Island. It's on the reef. We went out there to this resort for a day. And it was so funny because the sun, you're almost on the equator. It was so hot. And I had short hair. And I touched my head. I had blisters coming out of my hair.
Oh, man. Wow.
But, you know, that was a fun time. He was a fun guy. And, you know, that was a fun time. I mean, we still worked out. We still trained. But, you know, then, you know, hey, I'm going to take you over here. We're going to go here. We went to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So we arrived, and we worked out in the morning. He said, oh, yeah, we go to the beach. So they're just like staring at me. And I'm like, look, I'm like, what, man? And of course, realize we're on a nude beach. The girls are running out of the water, and I'm like, what the hell? And they're laughing because I had no idea, you know, until around and they're looking at me, and they introduced me to this food called bugs, and they look like giant bugs, and that's what they call them. And they're taste like lobster, but it was a good time.
Wow. Matt, did you get to do any of the traveling like Jeff did? Did you do any of that in Europe?
I mostly went over to Europe. I never got to Australia.
Okay.
I did a lot of Benelux for Twin Lab. The guy that was the chief importer for Belgium, France, Netherlands, that area. And I spent a lot of time with it. I spent a month with our buddy Ferdy and JJ, who was with Twin Lab. And I had a great time. I took a few moments that, you know, I wasn't as obsessed. I went to the gym when they said, hey, what's your gym time? You know, and I was like, 2 PM is fine with me. It was like, you know, before or after the seminar, but it was, you know, I was the first one in my family to go overseas. And I was standing in the Brussels Grand Place, just, you know, turning around, just looking at all the buildings and going, talk about a surreal experience, you know, to be, you know, and I actually went over as Mr. USA. So,
okay.
So I had done it as Mr. USA and then as Mr. America and Mr. Universe. And it was, you know, so at that time I was 22, you know, sorry about the dogs.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, so that was awe-inspiring, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, you were doing so well with all your tours. I mean, that went on for years. That was part of the reason why, that was one of the reasons why you never went over to the IFBB, right? Because they wanted you to basically start all over again and everything.
Yeah, there were very, very close moments where they were, so John Brown, let him do the Night of Champions. So actually, I was supposed to do the Night of Champions. There's discussions, Wayne D'Amelia, I think Jim Mannion pretty much nixed it. But, I'd known Wayne for years. And, he was always a great guy. I got along well. I didn't know him that close, but I knew him well enough. But so I was just on a tour, and I worked for a company, Multi-Power. They were German-based. Yeah. And so they used to set up my tours. I mean, I lived out of a suitcase sometimes 6-7 months of the year. I never came home. And my thing, I love doing the seminars. So I kept busy. Again, I was the scientist, I didn't say I do this, I explain stuff. And I think made me a little different. And, again, I'm pretty obsessive compulsive. There was a point I was going to make though. Wayne D'Amelia still the Night of Champions. So I remember coming back from New York because Bob was involved in it, and he said, and I was coming back to compete, and he said, it's not going to happen. So then over in Europe, because I worked for Multi-Power, they were the largest protein supplement company. They owned over 50% of the European market. They had, a lot of connections, and then I was going to go into the Grand Prix series. Do you remember the Grand Prix?
Yeah, right after Olympia.
There were 6 of them, and I was slated. I was in. For me, I still have pictures from that. I was in a gym. I had some guy. I was on my own, and he took pictures for me. But I was going to go to. I went to Nice, France, and I was supposed to do the first Grand Prix there. And some of the presidents were set. Was John Brown got it? He didn't have to start over. So his name was Flashing. He was the the Wayne D'Amelia of European IFBB. So in the end, it's same thing. I mean, I arrived at the show.
Oh man, what year was that, Jeff? Do you remember?
Oh God, I don't remember. Last week. I have no idea what year.
Was that when Lee Haney was Mr. Olympia?
Lee Haney was already Mr. Olympia then.
Yeah.
This was probably 3 or 4 years after I won the universe. So 87, 86, might have been 80. Actually, I think the Night of Champions was 85.
Okay.
And they were, the thing was, there always was a lot of disparity and between the AU and the NPC. Yeah, I know. And for me, like I said, it was a career. It was a short-term career. I had the blessing. Actually, Matt, you'll remember the attorney, the Springfield.
Rick Collins.
No, he was Rick's attorney. What was his name? But anyway, he took me under his wing and he said, "So, are you putting money aside for taxes? Are you doing your your quarterlies, your estimates?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Laura, was it Laura?
What's that?
Laura?
No. Ed Hassett. Hassett. So this guy coached me, man, like unbelievable. And I listened to everything he said. So that's how I learned the business. I started doing mail order and supplement line. I did some supplements with who was it? Super Spectrum, but I became like a distributor. But long and short of it, I didn't want to risk my job. I mean, I was busy.
Yeah.
Busy. I mean,
you
I
would
remember
a lot.
Yeah, I would come home. I remember I finished a tour in Australia, and it was summer there, but I was traveling back to the US. It was 3 days before Christmas. So I was just on the road and I was at the whim of whoever I was with. And for me at the time, I was busy. I was making a fair living because bodybuilders back then didn't really make a living.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was for me just a business decision to say, if I could sort of get some of the shake like the other guys, like John Brown or whatever, I would have done that. I would have happily got last place in a pro show.
Right.
Happily got last place. But to start over, and then to me, it could have, who knows what would have been in the magazines, John, like you said, it was magazines. America can't live up to the standard of the right. Come on. I just wanted to do what I love to do, and I made a decision, but now it was about me making a living. So
it's such a shame, because I remember for years after that, the fans would always be talking about, man, what if Jeff King would have went up against Lee Haney? It's like it's just a fantasy we never saw. We never saw this big matchup, because when you won that America, it was like you were so phenomenal. I think people talked about your physique for years.
Thanks, John. Well, it's funny. I used to say too, I said, this is the best marketing I could ever have.
Yeah.
If it ever happens, people will always want to, I want to see him in person,
Yeah.
They talked about it. And even in magazines, and I see on the internet, and I don't really follow bodybuilding at all, but someone will send me a quip, like Larry will say, hey, this was in YouTube today, but whatever happened to him, and what if he had done this, and he would have won, it's still bubbling. So I think it was the best thing I ever did.
Just to have the chance to see you up against like Lee Haney and Rich Gaspari, that would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I got to tell you, I talked to Chris Aceto just today, and he said, tell Jeff that he inspired hundreds of bodybuilders, if not thousands.
Absolutely.
He said that most muscular pose of you doing that, he goes, I don't think you understand how many people were really, really inspired by you when you won that America.
That's right.
Thanks, man.
You popped the balloon for all of Western Mass. I'm telling you, it's just everybody started to compete in the America, the USA, the universe, and And
who thinks, I remember two things in my life when I was a kid. I was a little chubby kid. I matured lately. And, first I did the martial arts like crazy. I competed in it because, I say, if I don't want to get my ass kicked, I got better be able to fight because I'm scary, And then, I started doing the weights, but I remember seeing Lou Ferrigno on the Wide World of Sports that my brother teased me, and my brother competed as a bodybuilder for a while. I went out and I got a log on the way home from school. I was probably like 12 years old, 13, and I started curling the log, and my brother was busting my hump. And then, I went and bought the barbell set, and my father made me go to that Bob Ottmer's gym. But then Pete Grimkowski on Red Fox.
And, really? Red Fox?
Yeah, he did a thing. Red Fox had balloons, and...
Good evening, and welcome to the first competition of its kind ever held in this part of the United States, a one-on-one posing contest between the champion, Mr. World himself, Peter Grimkowski, and the man about whom we know very little, referred to simply as the Challenger. The competition is about to begin.
And Chris, and he had huge quads, and that's when I started training legs. That was the beginning of me doing legs because I didn't do legs.
Yeah.
But you know, that was a good time, man. But it was just, it would have been fun if I had done the NPC. Then maybe it'd be different. But you know, everything for a reason, for sure.
Yeah.
And talk about somebody that has stayed in the thick of it, Chris Aceto.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I remember when he came to Springfield College, and we trained together for a little bit. We were both kind of working with Bob at that time. He actually did his senior year. He lived at my folks' house out in the suburbs.
Oh, no kidding.
Just because he could, you know, he could make his own meals and pack his own lunches and sleep when he wanted to and not deal with anything. And, you know, he and my parents made an arrangement, and that was great.
Wow.
Yeah, this kid, you know, ate, slept, and drank bodybuilding like nobody's business. And you know, he says he's slowing down now, but the way he's keeping track of his wins, I don't know if he actually is.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's just made bodybuilding his career in a different way, you know, as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly carrying on Bob Gruskin's legacy with what he's doing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. There was just a picture on
Chris is a nice guy. I mean,
and he's smart as.
He's a grounded dude, and he's a smart guy. He was always, I remember the first time I met him, Bob introduced me to him, and he was, you know, he was a shy kid, you know.
Yeah. There was a picture on Instagram of Bob Gruskin's basement, Jeff, today.
Yeah. We were talking about
Jerry Scalise. It's empty. It's empty because they're cleaning the house out to sell. So it's just the picture of the staircase and the checkered floor.
Yeah.
and Jerry Scalise writes, "If you know, you know." Meaning the basement. You know, if you've been in that basement, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And Chris, he says something to the effect of, "And if you went down there and you were fat, you were gonna hear about it." Yeah, definitely. You're kind of fat.
I remember Chris was telling me how nervous he would get training legs with you, Jeff. Before the workout even got there, he was almost ready to throw up before the workout because he was so nervous training legs with you.
Oh God! Well, hey, the guy trained hard, man. He was, you know, what they always say, the iron bug bit you, and you know, I don't really follow bodybuilding anymore, you know, but you know, I've seen some of the YouTube stuff. If I'm not busy, I'll go on it, and it seems like there's not much focus on training. Sometimes it appears. I'm so strong. I mean, it's freaky.
Yeah.
It's a whole different talk, and you know, I just remember all the talk was, you overtrained, you did too much, you know. So it's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah, it's a different sport for sure.
Different values, I would say.
Yeah. Matt, did you ever wish you could have went to the NPC and the IFBB?
No, I wasn't. I don't really know what I thought as far as competition. I had won the America and the Universe. I was prepping for the Pro Universe, you know, trying to put on mass, and then, you know, that it stopped. And, you know, it took me probably a year or two to get the mindset where, wow, this actually is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have any aspirations to be IFBB. I watched Jeff and his trials of, oh, maybe we'll let you in, maybe we're not, maybe we will, maybe you want. And I'm welcome in the NABBA, you know, and I'm welcome on their tours, and I can do, you know, other shows. I don't need to. And besides, you know, it's kind of cool saying you were in the same show that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in, you know, when he was, you know, there's a little, all of those greats that you listed, the Robbie Robinsons and the Frank Zanes and the Reg Park, they all won the NABBA Universe, you know. Our names are on the same. Our names are on the same list, you know. So I didn't care about NPC or anything like that. It was just bodies were bodies. You know, I knew some of the athletes back in the day and met them through Chris Aceto, but it wasn't a driving force for me.
Hey, Jeff, I got to ask you, Jeff, what you did for your legs. Everyone's going to want to know that. If I don't ask that, it's going to be an incomplete interview.
Yeah, no, I always did front squat. I know the order. I can tell you the order I do now. I did front squats, hack squats. I did leg press, the vertical leg press, but with it. And I got this from Mike Antorino. He called them duck squats.
Yep.
And then I did, and that was in the off season. And then before a show, I would add in leg extensions. And then of course I did leg curls. I did single leg curls, maybe good mornings or.
Okay. Just so we're clear. This isn't, well, I don't actually know how the pros train, but what I see when I see them training, and it might be just for photo shoots, there's a lot of pumping. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Jeff was training lifts, so it was ass to floor, 455, 515 front squats. So it wasn't like mamby-pamby stuff. Yeah. The hack squats were for 300, 400 pounds. The leg press was for huge.
Yeah.
And it was a Jubenville metal on metal.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
The good old equipment.
Yeah. So.
And that's why I have a total hip.
Yeah. I think back, if I was gonna repeat, if I had my brain now back then, I would have trained a lot less volume, knowing what I know now about recovery and muscular stimulation, all that. You can literally with good concentration and good focus get an incredible workout. I know John Defendis is going like this when he's listening, but like in just a few sets, you can destroy a muscle and the rest should be left to recover. And again, we got sucked into loving to train because it was always 4 squat, 4 hack, 4 leg press, 4 something else. Mm-hmm. So you're doing 16, 20 sets for quads. What? No. Give me 6 and I would have been Mr. Universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, John, I got to say too, I was watching, I think you were, I watched the podcast. You did Larry and I can't remember the bodybuilder from Chicago.
Glenn Kinnear.
Yes, Glenn.
Yeah.
But he's
a Mr. America.
Great. He was awesome.
186,
but the thing was, you guys were talking training, and I have to say I'm so envious because you're still training sort of heavy, I think.
Yeah. I'm seeing some of his training, John.
Yeah.
And it's like, my shoulders are gone like Larry's, and my hip got replaced. Best thing I ever did, but my knees bone on bone, and I just think some guys, man, like yourself, you just go. And I am envious because it's hard to admit, like I'm not an athlete anymore. I can't really run, a car comes up trying to go across the street. I still work, I still train and I do everything. Again, the other thing, I'm 62 soon. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not missing workouts. I still eat well.
Yeah.
Losing weight, like, slowly over the years. And I think you lose about 8% a year. Years. So I did the math after 40. I'm like, well, I'm going on like 25% loss of, it's frustrating,
Yeah.
You lift your arm up and it's not fat that's swinging, it's the skin.
Yeah.
Jesus,
I feel like a flying squirrel.
I just said to Lisa the other day, I was like, I got all, after I did bodybuilding, I went into triathlon and kind of got heavy into that, which helped me lose a lot of weight. Did an Ironman triathlon and all that stuff, which was a lot of training. But you are
amazing, Matt. You got the mind, buddy. You got the mind.
But I've got all these bikes down cellar and racing bikes and this and that. I look at Lisa, I go, I think I gotta bring my brain at soon to be 56 this month. That I'm gonna maybe ride hard with my buddies now and then, but I'm never gonna race again. I'm not gonna do a triathlon. I can't run. I don't know if my back will let me ever run again, or should I run?
Yeah.
And I just like, stay in shape. I still go to the gym. I can still out bench my son, which might last another year or two.
Right.
He's 25. He's not training the way I did at 25, but yeah, he's there. But yeah, you got it. Facing your mortality is definitely that's also surreal. Let's put it that way. You know, it's a different thing. And you're dodging the bullet, damn
it. Matt, you know, Frank Vincenzo, who he placed in the America as well. He was my But you know, he's 67 now, so we're about 6 years apart. He'll be 68, but you know, he'll always say to me, take my hand, dear friend. Let me lead you into old age.
Yeah, great.
and the thing is, you know, he's old. The guy he's still like a stone. I mean, he's as a rock, but it's so funny, like, you know, just withering away. Like, and he goes, Jesus Christ. He goes, you know, like I always say, it's when you get older, forget what you look like in clothes. It's what you look like out. You want to be lean, you want to be fit.
Yeah.
He says, for me to be lean now, I have to weigh 160 pounds. Yeah. And the guy naturally was a 230 pound
rock.
Guy. He was, you know, he was a good bodybuilder. He trained like a nut. And, you know, that's how we became friends, you know, and Matt, you might agree with this, and John, you as well. It's like some of my best friends always. Mike Jodis was my training partner in St. Louis. We've been friends. I was out in St. Louis when I was right after the America. That's why he showed up. I started training with him. He was friends with my attorney. He's training with Mr. America. He's supposed to go back to college. I'm noticing, God. So I says, hey man, when are you supposed to go back to school? He goes, go back to school. I get to train with you. I'm gonna stay here as long as I can. But a lot of my friends that, you know, you share these work ethic values, they become some of the best friends of your life. I mean, you know, Kevin Landry, you know, Kevin, Matt.
Yeah. I still go out to dinner, you know, once every couple of months with Bruce Pennington. You know, here's a guy. You know, here's a guy that showed up after his shift at American Airlines at 1 o'clock in the morning to do a bicep workout with me, you know, because we were doing double split. I mean, it's, you know, and he trained with me. Bruce and I trained from before the Teenage Mr. America all the way to the Mr. Universe. He was my training partner.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's like we're gonna meet every couple months, you know. So,
Your gym husband, right?
What's that? What's that?
Your gym husband.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, you form a special bond with the people you train with, because it's like, you know, you're sharing an experience that, you know, it's hard to describe to anybody else. Yeah,
absolutely.
Jeff, do you ever see Mike Antorino anymore? Do you ever hear him?
You know, it's funny. I was just thinking, it's funny. Anytime I think about someone, next thing I know, I see them. But you know, I used to ask Bob, like, well, you know, what's Mike up to? And you know, he said, well, you know, he's doing okay, you know, but I just sort of lost contact with him. And, you know, Mike, you know, he was a great guy, Mike, you know, another Jersey boy, you know, so, you know, and he was a good wrestler. He was an excellent athlete. And, you know, we hooked up a couple of times to train, and of course he won the America as well. So, actually, where I met him, it was at the Teenage Mr. America, my first bodybuilding contest. I never talked to him. I was afraid of him. And he had these big glasses on, huge glasses, like the thick, big glasses on. And he was on the stage with the glasses. And at the time, Bob met him as well. And, you know, he said, hey, take off those glasses, you know. Bob, he hated tattoos, and he saw the snake. I think it probably put Mike on hold for a little bit. But
no one had tattoos back then.
Yeah, I'm curious what he's up to. He was a good guy. He was a good bodybuilder.
Yeah, a very good guy. He worked with Multi-Power in the States for a little bit with you know, doing stuff with Adrian and stuff. But he always struck me as he won the Mr. America, but it was kind of like, really? I won the Mr. America? He's always, you know, he never struck me as bodybuilding was his love and his passion. He kind of just did it, and it happened. And, you know, he had his wife and his family, and it just, it just wasn't what was driving him like it drove Jeff and me to some extent and some of the other people.
Yeah.
He just was, maybe he was more grounded than us, you know,
Yeah.
as far as he just was like, yeah, all right. You know, he wasn't driven to go to the universe. I never saw him compete after that. Did he, Jeff?
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think so either.
I think he just settled, like you said. I think he was very family oriented. I can't remember. I remember his wife's name, but it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't bring
Roberta,
up.
I think. Roberta.
Yeah, Roberta. And so, you know, I just
my mind's not as bad as Jeff's yet.
Yeah. I think he focused on important things, you know.
Right.
Yeah. I never saw him compete or met him, but he always looked like an intimidating bodybuilder. He had that powerful look, you know.
Yeah.
Huge traps.
Yeah. He won. I think he won the show. He might have won the Teenage America the year I got third in the medium tall or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted a trophy. I didn't care.
Well, you did that one year, Jeff. You won the heavyweight in the Teenage America and the USA, both.
Yeah. That was the year Bob gave me kill. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you weigh at that as a teenager?
Honestly, I maybe 205.
Wow, you look huge. You look huge in the pictures.
Yeah. You know who was? I remember Mihalik's guy was there. I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But you know who is a very nice guy? I ran into him in California. I was out there on vacation in San Francisco. It's Paul Jean Galloon.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that guy, he was a stone. And
great physique.
I ran into him out in the gym, and it was him and the actor there, the dancer. I can't remember his name. And it was so funny. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me, and he said, "Jeff King." I go, "Paul Jean?" Yeah. First time I met him was at I think it was the Teen America or the Teen USA.
Yeah. He was in that show that year too, right?
Yeah. And that's where I saw Lee Haney for the first time. It was his first time, I believe, in the Junior America. It might have been that year. And that's because he had just turned 20, you know, or something.
Yeah. Wow.
It was in Atlanta, whatever show was in Atlanta.
Oh, the USA. It was the USA.
Yeah, it was the USA. That's what he was in.
Right. Dave Rogers, I think, won, right? Dave Rogers won the USA.
I don't remember who won. I remember Lee Haney. You know?
Yeah.
Impressive guy.
Yeah. I just had Tom Terwilliger and Tony Pearson and Phil Williams on the show. We were all talking. I was asking all those guys about getting older because they're all in their early 60s. You know, I think
Tony Pearson doesn't age.
The guy only gets better. He's 65. He's 65. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
He looks incredible too. He's lean. He's hard. He's
always in shape. Yeah.
Diamond hard.
Yeah.
It's funny. Tony Pearson, he trained out at Turner's gym. You know.
George Turner. You were there for a while, right?
Yeah, I trained him. Oh, he was funny, man. That guy he was a character, but he comes in, you know, he was just funny. He was all this, you know, the old gridiron guy.
Yeah, we did a couple of shows about him.
He was telling me about Tony Pierce. He goes, "Man, that guy only eat 5 pounds of hamburger." and Tony was, you know, he was always ripped, but Samir Banu trained at his gym for a while.
Yeah.
But you know, and I hear all the stories, all the guys that were there. And just before the America, I just moved to St. Louis. I was there for a week, and I trained his gym. He's like, "Hey." Oh,
the year you won the America?
Yeah. He says, "Come here." You know, well, I was moving to go to chiropractor school. That's why I wasn't going to do the show.
Oh, okay.
That's when Bob said, "Oh no, you're going in." He goes, you know. So I put school off for 3 months, and then the universe, and it was, you know, it just turned into a whirlwind. But
yeah,
George is like, "Yeah, come into the back room. You know, let me see your legs." You know. And he goes, "Wow, you look okay." Yeah. George was just a funny guy, man. He would get in fist fights at his gym if you dropped a weight or you.
Right.
Yeah, I'd see him like brawling up in the front with some dude. He was a character, man.
Yeah. Phil Williams and Tony had a lot of stories about him.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Phil Williams was out there too.
Yeah.
what was St. Louis, like a hotbed at that time?
I guess it was that gym, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I think it was George. Yeah, like George, you know, he used to write for Muscle Fitness. And,
yeah, it was one of the best gyms in the country, I guess, at its time.
It was so far ahead of its day. I mean, it was beyond. And he had a couple of them. He had them, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
I trained at the one in Creve Coeur, and you know, with Mike. You know, that's how Mike brought me there. He goes, you got to go to this gym, man. We trained at a couple of gyms, and you know, it was Mike was a great training partner. He does personal training out in St. Louis, and you know, quick story is, you know, when I went out, it was work for Super Spectrum. He came with me. We flew out to California. We were up and down Thousand Oaks. We went to the Anaheim convention. I went there with Super. That's where I met Multipower, and then I started working. But he came with me, and we went to a gym. I don't know if we were in Fresno. Randy Heim. I don't know if you remember Randy Heim was a body. He had massive quads. But
I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to this gym. We stayed at Randy's house, and then we went to this gym. And so Mike comes back to me. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "I think, you know, why don't you and me start doing personal training?" And I'm like, "Personal training?" Well, this guy, I think he's the third largest personal training company or business in the US, if not the world. It's called the Fitness Edge. And you know, he, to this day, he always calls me. He'll text me, "How you doing?" And he'll say, "You know, I just always want to thank you. You inspired me to where I am today," like stuff like that. And of course, I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." You know? But dude, you saw me in my worst times. You know, like,
now you're a millionaire and I'm not.
Yeah, and so it's so funny because, and then another time it came close. The accountant I had, his accountant, and he wanted to expand, but he wanted a partner, and you know, Mike's just a very good guy, and you know, he could have had it made. His family, Jawdis Bakery Supply since the 1800s. You know, family business. You know, and he didn't want any of it. He wanted to do his own thing, and he is. And you know, he's a real gentleman, man, and he's still training like a nut. You know, so crazy. But anyway, you know, just small stories.
Yeah.
You remember Rich Sulky?
Oh my God, yeah.
So Rich Sulky is he spends this time between the Cape and DC. He owns a training company in DC.
My God.
And it's phenomenally successful. You know, and Bruce keeps me up to date with him and what's going on. That was actually surreal for me because he was one of the Springfield College behemoths. You know, in the gym, and he competed in the America the year I won, and that was kind of weird, like having Rich Sulky in the show and competing against him. You know what I mean? I was like, I was like, but he's doing very well and keeps in touch with Bruce and stuff. But yeah, had we been smart enough to capitalize on what we did, we would have been millionaires. But you know,
yeah. Now
we're in healthcare. Go figure.
Yeah, and I tell you, if I was going to have a business, it wouldn't be in healthcare. Boy.
Yeah,
very volatile. You know?
Oh yeah,
I can imagine.
Unless you work for the government.
Yeah, but you get a good pension. I don't get anything.
I'm literally working for my pension as we speak right now. I got to put in some years, and then I'll hopefully be set. But yeah. Of course, I got to deal with crazy people like you all day. So
good luck.
Yeah.
Jeff, are you still working for the police department out there?
Yeah. Still am. Yep. And you know, I'm at that point. I have to decide if I'm gonna
stay or go
training. You know, and stay. I mean, I was retiring when I had my hip done. I was done, and funny, the pandemic came, and I've always worked 2 jobs. You know, I got my 3 kids and that, and you know, divorce is hard. You know, it's expensive, and but I told him, I said, yeah, I'm retiring, I'm done. So I usually could get per diem work. It's premium, man. It's great money. And with the pandemic, like all the nursing homes, they just closed down. I mean, even now I couldn't get a gig where before I could work every single day if I want. I couldn't even have a job. I could just do per diem and be great.
Mhm.
But, so I couldn't get any work. So I called him up. The sergeant says, hey, I need to know, am I putting you on the schedule? I said, yep. So, I'm ready to give it up, but right now I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Now for Bay State, do you actually see patients like
All day long.
No, I thought for some reason you had moved up into management to not.
I am in management. Yeah, I'm in
And
management.
you still
but
see patients.
yeah, it's I usually, like today. Remember I told you I'm done with my last patient at 5:40, and I'm typically about 50%. So the process is coming now. It really depends on what's going on. To be honest with you, Matt, it's the best part of my job.
Seeing the patients.
Oh yeah, I don't like being dad.
Right.
I don't like. I just want to come and do my job, but obviously, like the management job is a better pay scale.
Yeah, I hear you.
The best part of my job is the patient care.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like a personal trainer almost, but I'm going to make more money if I did my own thing.
If you're not getting the cut.
Yeah. Oh no cut. And no pension.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go. I appreciate the time spending it with me on the Bodybuilding Legends podcast, Matt and Jeff. It was a great pleasure talking to you guys again. And first time meeting you, Matt. Thank you very much for setting us up.
No problem.
And,
John.
Hope we get to talk to you guys again. It was a real pleasure talking about the old days.
All right.
So,
thank
John,
you.
I want to add one last final note.
Okay.
Like I told you, who would you look up and who your idol? I told you it moved along as opportunities, and it was where I was in my life. You are now my new idol because
I can endorse that.
I'm like so pissed that this guy's still training hard. I'm not jealous. I'm just envious. So now you know who my new hero is.
I love it. I can endorse
Be well,
that.
guys.
That's
All right, guys.
great.
Take care.
I appreciate
Thanks,
it, buddy.
buddy.
Take
All
care,
right,
guys.
John. You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.